Good morning. Welcome to the light and love that is Unity of Lawrence on Zoom. So grateful to be here today and really excited about this service. And in Unity, we begin everything with prayer. Let's join our prayer chaplain, Karen, as we begin our service by opening to the divine presence we know is within us.
Good morning, my divine friends. The stardust in me and my skin speaks to the stardust in your skin. Let's take a big breath in and release and settle into that space that we know, that heart space, and we open it wide. And we know that we are connected through the ethers and through the technology that we have today. Another breath in and we settle in a little further. Yes. Yes. We are here together, connecting and sharing the presence of love, sharing the presence of light that shines from us. We gather together to hear a message and to hear music that reminds us of the good that we are and the good that is all around us. We are grateful to be here, grateful to be sharing this with one another. And oh yes, breathing in and releasing out, letting go all that doesn't serve this moment right here and now. We are spirit and we are here together in love and in light. Thank you, God. And so it is. Amen.
And so it is. Please join Holly. Make sure I'm not muted. I'm not. Please join Holly in singing All Is Well by Eddie Watkins Jr.
I'm not worried about tomorrow. Today I declare freedom from yesterday, mistakes of the past. Today all things are made brand new, and don't it feel good to know all is well and unfolding as it should. I can change my reality by changing my mind. Perfect peace, joy, and happiness is yours and it's mine. And I'm loved and so are you. And don't it feel good to know all is well and unfolding as it should. All is well, all is well. Divine Spirit is directing me right now. All is well, all is well, all is well, and unfolding as it should. I am cloaked in the Spirit, and I'm fit by divine. I am one with all that is. My soul is free from time, and I'm blessed and so are you. And don't it feel good to know all is well and unfolding as it should. All is well, all is well. Divine Spirit is directing me right now. All is well, all is well, all is well and unfolding as it should. One more time. All is well, all is well. Divine Spirit is directing me right now. All is well, all is well, all is well and unfolding as it should. All is well and unfolding as it should. Have a good service, everybody.
Thank you, Holly. Please affirm with me unity's founding principle. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God, the source of all good. Now our Unity of Lawrence vision. United in divine love and joy, we celebrate a peaceful and abundant world for all. And finally, our Unity of Lawrence mission. We are a thriving spiritual community, sharing love, building bridges, and inspiring transformation. Today, we have Sugarfoot Detour. Sugarfoot Detour is a Lawrence collective of talented musicians led by singer-songwriter Byron James. They like to refer to their music as the jazz of folk. Please welcome Colby Earlywine on drums, Ross Black on bass, Byron James on vocals and guitar, and Mick Palmer as the producer. We look forward to the return of Christian Bowie on vocals and strings as the pandemic tide turns. Sugarfoot Detour feels fortunate to be a part of the community, and it is their distinct honor to be asked to provide music for Unity of Lawrence. Welcome, Sugarfoot Detour.
This is an early original song about rebirth. This is Ross and Colby, and Mick is helping. My name is Byron. This is called Garden of the Goddess. In the garden of the goddess, where the iris used to dance and paint your daydreams with silken shrouded songs. Ooh, late December. For an instant past the twilight, through a charred and dusty trance, you reawaken, knowing you are strong. Through ash and ember. Even though I try and try, I never seem to understand the reason why you do when there's nothing there to do. You see when there's nothing there to see. They say there's rage and ruin, but it's outside looking in. A shattered window, no more damage to be done. Still remember, there's a force beyond the surface. Arms extended, fences mended, roots expanded, rising hidden from the sun. Still remember. Even though I try and try, I never seem to understand the reason why you do when there's nothing there to do. You see when there's nothing there to see. In the garden of the goddess, where the iris used to dance and paint your daydreams with silken shrouded songs.
Wonderful song. Today, I'm very excited to welcome Reverend Martha Creek. Widely known in New Thought, Martha's trainings approach deep inner work as an adventure with a sense of curiosity and wonder. A master of the art of right questioning, she calls forth the most stubborn and self-defeating patterns to create a new way of being, literally. Ordained in religious science and divine science, Martha has served as Great Lakes Unity Consultant and is a member of Unity Institute faculty. She has attended Emerson Theological Seminary, master's and doctorate, Byron Katie School for the Work, and the Hoffman Institute. Welcome, Reverend Martha.
Thank you all so much. It's an absolute privilege for me to be here with you. I've loved my time when I was there in person with you, and I look forward to a time to be in person with you again. And in the meantime, it is a great time for us to bring some solace for ourselves. And before you write to me, correct my pronunciation, which I'm pretty accustomed to, because if you remember, I'm from Bug Tussle, Kentucky. So I often talk like I ain't got no education. And there's actually two pronunciations of the word, solace and solace. And I'd love you to pause here and just say the word, solace. Solace. And get a sense of what that would be if you took full responsibility for that. Because the definition of that is to give comfort in misfortune, to give comfort in grief, to give comfort in loss. Can anybody relate? You feel like you've had some misfortune? We've had a few boogers in our lives and this year. And so this solace that we're seeking, this solace that we're seeking, if it ever comes from another party, if it ever comes from anybody outside of ourselves, it's a bonus. It's grace, it's providence, it's a miracle. And it's also providence and grace and miracle for us to call forth and to cultivate solace and solace within ourselves, to give comfort to ourselves in times of loss, to give comfort to ourselves in times of mourning, in times of worry, doubt, fear, panic, whatever the case may be. So I think it calls us, particularly during this season, this spring season, this breaking forth of something new, this breaking out of some of this, the winter, the darkest days of our time, to come into light. And as spring breaks forth and spring comes forth, that it's incumbent on us. Maybe it's your Lenten practice to say, during these 40 days, I'm going to add a practice of giving myself spiritual care, spiritual solace, words of comfort, words of grace. It could be that I'm going to add a contemplation, of 5 minutes of contemplative time to my day, or 5 minutes of inquiry, like, what would serve me right now? What would actually lift some of this heaviness off of me? So I want to put forth in this time as we go together some possibilities for us. And I can't do it for you. If I could, we'd all be free. Oh, we'd all be free. So I can't do it for us, but I'll do it for me the best I can. And I know that you'll do it for you the best you can, so that we actually put into this time and right now that we stop some of the madness. So what is it you would actually stop? If you wanted to comfort yourself, if you wanted to bring solace to yourself, solace, if you wanted to bring a consoling energy to yourself, something soothing, more soothing, what would you stop? What would you stop? Somebody says, I'd stop watching the news. Somebody said, I'd stop dramatizing. I would stop awfulizing. I would stop gossiping. I would stop self-hate and beating myself up. Stop shooting on ourselves. So begin to think about that then as your takeaway from today. What will I stop? What can I stop to move me in the direction of more peace in my mind, peace in my mind, peace in my soul, peace in my heart, to stop something? I'm also going to encourage you to take extra rest. Now, the brain scientists have proven this. Like, we're in a time, the brain has been fried, the brain has been frazzled through this, because we had all of our ducks in the row, up here in this upper part of our brain. And that whole rug has been pulled out from under us. So the brain is still trying to get the ducks back in the row. And we don't know where to go. Are they open? Are they closed? Can we go? Can I know? Where's my mask? I don't know. Who's got it? Who's not? Is it real? Is not? What's... So it's like, extra rest. And only you know what rest is. It could mean no electronics in your bedroom. It could mean staying in bed an hour extra. It could be a restful walk, just to enjoy nature, to see the buds on the trees, and that brings me to life, to interact with nature, to see a new bud, like, oh my gosh, even through it all, these bulbs that are in my yard. And there was 7 inches of snow on these things. They had come up about this tall, and then this tall, and then snow and ice on all of them. And folks, they didn't miss a beat. They're everyone there, and they're still green. Like the mysteries of life, And it's my favorite thing about human beings, is our resilience. So to stay tuned into just what power and potential we have. So some extra rest. It could be resting our minds. It could be a jigsaw puzzle. It could be playing a game with grandchildren. Only you know what it is, but some extra rest. And then here's one that we're not all that clued into lately: delight. To use delight for solace, to use delight to comfort us. It could be remembering a trip. It could be looking at pictures. It could be just watching a kid. It could be your animals play. This is why we'd rather hang out with pets than people. They're more enlightened. They're in delight. They play with a ball, a string, they fetch. They walk off and go to bed when they need to. Follow, when you're in doubt about what to do, follow the animal. It's got more sense than we do. When we're not cared for, when we're not tuned in, when we haven't stopped this or stopped that, when we have not took a time to exhale, to rest some. And then delight, like, what would delight you? When's the last time you even thought about what would delight you? What would delight you? It doesn't have to be a big thing. It doesn't have to be, New York City in Times Square on New Year's Eve. It may be. But what about this 300 days till then? Delight. And then the best. Contemplate God. Look for God in all things. Look for God in those bulbs, God in those blooms, God in that lettuce you're cutting up for your meal, God in the nuts and the bread. Well, remember when you ate bread? You'd have to think back on that. But just God in all things. We see God in a sunrise, God in a sunset. So, oh, here's God. God's like, okay, well, there's no place God is not. So to contemplate that, to be on purpose, to sit in my chair and look around at the life, the stitches in a quilt, the design of a quilt, the technology for the windows and the panes of glass on the house, the innovation, the mind that created that. So study, contemplating, finding God in all things, not big things, not just brilliant things, but all things, to give solace for myself, to give comfort for myself. And some of our earliest teachers are quoted as saying, I I demand to see the blessing in this. I demand to see the blessing in this. We don't have to do a happy dance. I mean, when somebody gets a diagnosis or something, it's like no sane person goes, oh, this is just fantastic. However, we can go, okay, I'm contemplating God. I'm stopping. I'm going to stop myself before I get down that rabbit hole. I'm going to stop myself before I go into the torture chamber. I'm going to stop myself before I get into the horror movie of my projected images of my mind. So I'm going to circuit break that. I'm going to stop. Then I'm going to rest a bit. I'm going to calm myself. I'm going to care for myself. I'm going to speak positive words of love and care for myself. So I'm going to give comfort to myself, less and less dependent on the world doing it for me or people or my relationships. And then I'm going to contemplate God. What's an option for me here? What can I do here? And then this is the question that I love the most in this contemplative kind of space that's a spiritual practice. So anytime you're in a situation, you may feel like you're in a pit or in a lion's den or shutting down, suffering, whatever, even immobilized, like stuck, I can't move, especially in these times, to ask yourself, what purpose might God have for me in this? What might be the purpose of this? What might be a meaning in this that while I'm in it, I can't really see? But if I was willing to step back a little and to think broader and to gain some perspective, rest myself a little, care for myself a little, and then step back to say, okay, what could possibly be a meaning in this? How could I make meaning with this? So how can I take the pain and make it purposeful? How can I use this pain for purpose? How can I use this manure to grow something, to grow myself? So I don't just have to go through it. I'm going to grow through it, and I'm going to do so intentionally. And then it does not have to be done alone. You know, there's some things in our life that have to be done alone. Of course, there's deep inner work, but the majority of it does not have to be done alone, certainly not in isolation. That's the purpose, many purposes of a spiritual community, of a women's group, a men's group, a therapy, a coach, a mentor, others that can witness us in our humanness and can witness us in the whole of our humanity and remind us we're not alone in this. You are not alone in this. And then outside of the people, all the support that there is here for us with books and teachers and mentors and classes and spiritual communities and poetry and art and dance and movement and spiritual practice. Then there's the beauty of the Creator itself, Source itself, God itself, that says, you don't have a life. Life has you. I have you. There's no way to be separate from me. There's no way to be separate from Source itself. There's no way to be separate from breath. So then I'm being breathed, even to contemplate that. Like while we've been sitting here talking and listening, even in these few minutes, our bodies have been oxygenating cells and sorting it all out and rebalancing itself and renewing itself without a speck of input from us. I mean, can you find some solace in that? What a relief, huh? That I don't have to orchestrate all this. Well, for some of you that aren't free in that yet, you'll be frightened. But if you hang in there with it, just past that fear is liberation, that I don't have to make that my business. That I can bring solace to myself to know what I can do something about and what I cannot do something about. Then change what I can. accept what I cannot. More awake, more awake, more awake to the difference of that. So then another question could be, so just before I got on the class and the call today, this beautiful spiritual community, before I joined you, I heard two of my dear friends playing piano in their home, one of them, and the other one singing. And they were singing, "What the world needs now is love." Did you notice it just came on in your head? What the world needs now is delight, huh? Did you get a little delight in that? See, just at an image of that, just a remembering of the lyrics, the words, the music, maybe sometime you sung it, and it matches the nature of our soul that says, okay, I'm kind of hanging on by a thread in some ways, but I'm going to have more love in the world. I'm intentionally going to do that today. I'm going to put more love in the world. So then whatever is coming, whatever's unfolding, whatever's coming at me, whatever, I'm stopping, resting, contemplating God, and I'm going to find some delight in something, and I'm going to put more love in myself. I'm going to give more love to myself. I'm going to bring more love through myself, and I'm going to put more love in the world. What the world needs now, what you need now, is love, more love for yourself, a solace of love, a salve of love, a balm of love. So what would that be like? I just accepted a challenge that somebody put out, one of my friends that's a beautiful, beautiful soul, to let's all write a love note to somebody. Go write a love note to somebody. Well, I've been cranking them out by the hundreds this year. I mean, you should see the postmaster's face when I come in there with another stack of these love notes. So a note, a love note. It could be a note of appreciation, a note of remembering, a note of encouragement, a note of prayer, something that would say, okay, it could be that you're on your walk today, you see a bug on its back. And it's like, turn the bug over. It could be some litter. Only you know what it is. And I'm working and using the book in some of the other teaching that I'm doing called The Universal Christ. The Universal Christ, how to be Christ-like, Christ-minded like, how to be in a Christ consciousness in all that I do, in all that I say, in all that I speak, in all that I think, in all that I pray, in action, in the woods, in the store, in the car. So you're welcome to join in all of those. They're all at my website, marthacreek.com. The Universal Christ, the letting go, the techniques of Dr. David Hawkins for the pathway to surrender, and then integrating the work of Byron Katie, which is inquiry. And it's once a month, no registration. You're just welcome to get out there and check it out. Come on in and join us. And then there's all sorts of videos available, all free, and interviews and all that at marthacreek.com too. So I believe you may find some solace in that, some solace in joining in, some solace in listening in. Whatever teaching is resonant with you, keep it close. Keep it close. Listen again and again. Listen over. Get out those books. Dust off those books that meant the world to you and get back in there, which is how I picked these. I dedicated this year, 2021, to going back into the books that I had a significant cellular, cognitive, spiritual, emotional shift through, which has been a majority of my books. And I picked that Universal Christ, the pathway of letting go, and then the work. 4 questions to change our lives. So dust off the books that meant a lot to you and bring solace to yourself as you read. It could be just a sentence or two from the book. So then what will you do today? What can you do today to bring more love to you, and then love through you, knowing that the benefactor, as I'm giving love to somebody, I'm also the benefactor of that. So the whole is affected. Everything I do for myself is for others, Everything I do for others is also for myself if you believe in quantum theory or the basic teachings of unity. So start to think about what that might look like for you. And then this one's a little more treacherous, this question. So some of you, I wish we could shut the door because some of you will try to get out of the class now. What character qualities, what consciousness qualities, what enhanced, uplifted qualities might God be encouraging me to birth in me? So as I look at this situation I'm in, as I look at this, what's got a hold of me, to see that this will expand my perseverance, that this will expand my resilience, this will expand my discernment, the nature to discern. It'll expand my will. It will expand all the 12 powers, will and understanding and imagination and faith and love and elimination and order. It will expand discernment, perseverance, stamina. It will grow my uncommon motivation to see something through and to know that even though if I can't see it, that this is taking me somewhere, that this is on purpose. So solace includes, and actually I think is an art, a spiritual practice of asking important, vital questions of ourselves, and then eventually of one another, vital questions of the world, and accepting these fiercely, fiercely difficult and unbeautiful moments as part of our human learning processes. They're included. I don't have to like them a bit. I don't have to love them for darn sure. And they're included. So then this solace is what we've got to look for when the mind cannot bear the pain, when it thinks it can't bear it, when the loss or suffering feels so heavy and weighted, especially then to be quicker at this, to not let that go too far without stopping and resting and contemplating God and God's presence in this. And then adding a flavor of delight to something today for me, so that we grow willingness, we grow stamina and resilience for knowing that not everything we want is going to come into fruition. We know that people are going to die and get sick. It's included here. We know then that our hope, and a grounded hope, has got to take a more mature, a more spiritual, higher consciousness form than the hope of a 3-year-old mind that still believes it's going to get what it wants. So then in this spacious, creative, causative, imaginative aspect of us, solace is spiritual practice. When disappointment comes, and it will, that it can be more accepted, more included, and then cared for. The disappointment can be cared for, rehabbed, rejuvenated, rehabilitated, hugged. So when life does not in any way add up, when you just cannot connect the dots, we've got to turn to the part of us that knows the truth. The part of us that's not dependent on a simple calculation for life, The part of us that can accept the mystery of life, even when we don't like it, the mystery of it. And then solace can be found in allowing this foundational, solid ground of wisdom to come forth, to be closer to us, that we have more access to this foundational wisdom. The part of us that already knows it's mortal, the part of us that already knows it's mortal, and the part of us that knows everything must take leave. Everything must take lead. And that can hold that loss and hold that disappointment and not miss the song of the bird. That can hear a bird song. That can see a bud on a tree. That can be amazed at that green breaking through the snow and that root system on that bulb that brought that bloom forth. And that the current of life is ever moving, ever changing, moving on, carrying, burying, birthing, and burying, and loss and celebration. And it's both and. It's both and. And that I don't have to be so avoidant of the one and so dependent on the other, but that I can be consoled. I can find solace, and consolation in the full spectrum, even when it touches an epicenter of pain. The privilege of life, of being alive, and of feeling, of having a heart that knows loss and life, and letting go and lifting up, and. So it's not a cure. This is not a cure for suffering. Solace is not a cure for suffering. It's also not a made up state of mind. Solace is a direct participation through this stopping, resting, contemplating God, caring, self-care, spiritual care, and then sprinkles of delight at least, or a large heaping of delight, a truckload of delight here and there. So it's a celebration then, and if you can't celebrate or even contemplate celebration, at least it's an inclusion of the coming and the going, the appearing and the disappearing, both of which we've always been a part. So solace is an invitation to pass through the door of pain and difficulty, and to stop trying to make sense of it, to stop trying to make sense out of things we can't make any sense out of, and to practice being in that loss, and using it to cultivate generosity to self, generosity to others, compassion for self, compassion for others. So how will you do it? How will you shape and reshape your life equal to what's coming and what's going, what appears and what disappears? Take a pause And as we apply this today in a time of meditation, allow the words, the ideas, something that's been stirring and moving in you to have a place. And take a look at all the pain, all the suffering, all the loss, everything that's been in your experience. And get a sense, a knowing that it's been with purpose. That who you are, who you have become, and who you are becoming all of this had a part. And get a sense of laying down your burdens. Gonna lay down my burden down by the riverside. Let today be that day. What would that be like? To offload them, to offload the pain, to offload the resentments, to lay down anything that burdens you. To bring solace to your mind, to bring solace to your heart, to bring solace to your spirit. And take a big, deep breath. And get a sense of a new you that's been born here today, a new you that's been resurrected during this time to stop doing anything that suffers you. To take some rest, a big exhale of rest. Allow the shoulders to come down. And to contemplate God. How would you be in the world if your mission was to find God, to contemplate God? All the places, all the ways, infinite ways. The presence of God is in all things. And then get a sense of dialing up your delight dial. Delight in love, delight in life, delight in God's presence, and God's presence as you expressing. Big deep breath. We give thanks for this time. We give thanks for this awakening, this alignment, this atonement. We give thanks for renewal, for revitalization. We give thanks for the teachings, the spiritual community. And we give thanks for God having its way in us again and again and again. So be it. So it is. Amen.
This is another old standard folk song called I Am a Pilgrim. I am a pilgrim and a stranger, traveling through this wearisome land, and I got a home in that yonder city, good Lord, and it's not lowly and it's not made by hand. I got a mother, a sister and a brother who have gone to that sweet home, and I'm determined to go and see them, good Lord, over on, good Lord, over on that other shore. As I go down to the river of Jordan, just to bathe my weary soul, and if I could touch but just the hem of his garment, good Lord, I believe, good Lord, I believe that it would make me whole. Now when I'm dead, laying in my coffin, all of my friends come gather round. They could say that he's just laying there sleeping, good Lord, sweet peace, good Lord, sweet peace, his soul is found. I am a pilgrim and a stranger, traveling through this wearisome land. Got a home in that yonder city, good Lord, over on, good Lord, over on that other shore.
Thank you so much to Reverend Martha and to Sugarfoot Detour. That was a really powerful message today. Now is our time of thanks and offering. I invite you to join me as we hold our gifts to this community in our hands and love in our hearts. Let's affirm together, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Join Holly in singing Living in the Heart of God by Jan Garrett and J.D. Martin. Please go online and give via PayPal or write a check and mail it to Unity of Lawrence. Thank you.
Nothing is ever lost, and we are not forgotten. We are living in the heart of God. Nothing is ever lost, and we are not forgotten. We are living in the heart of God. We are living, we are living, we are living in the heart of God. We are living, we are living, we are living in the heart of God. We sleep in dreams both deep and bright, sailing through the velvet night, refreshing the soul to the spirit's delight, living in the heart of God. We are living, we are living, we are living in the heart of God. We are living, we are living, we are living in the heart God. Nothing is ever lost, and we are not forgotten. We are living in the heart of God. Nothing is ever lost, we are not forgotten. We are living in the heart of God.
We give thanks that we are living in the heart of God and that we are in the flow of God's good. And that by being in that flow, we celebrate and uplift our spiritual community. And we know that our physical building is still there for us, waiting with us with open arms for us when we can come back together. And we're so grateful that we can each give as each one can to uplift this community and uplift our needs. And we give thanks that we are in that flow. And we give thanks that we can receive such beautiful words, such beautiful message, and such beautiful inspiration. We are grateful for each of those who have given of their time and their talent and their treasure. Thank you, God. Amen.
This is a standard folk song called Simple Gifts. Tis a gift to be simple, tis a gift to be free, tis a gift to come round where we ought to be. And when we are in that place just right, we will be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend, we will not be ashamed. To turn, 'twill be our delight, till by turning, we come round right.
And now for our announcements. Check out tomorrow's e-news for an announcement about a new book club. Daylight savings time begins on the second Sunday in March, so we'll spring forward 1 hour on Sunday, March 14th at 2 a.m. Be sure to set your clocks ahead 1 hour before bed on Saturday night. Already. Our new board has elected officers. President is Kathy Pryor, Vice President Cheryl Miller, Treasurer Dave Geyer, Secretary Janet Morgenstern. Members at large, Ann Furlong, Karen Langsford, John Pryor, Diane Silver, and me. The new team contacts and board liaisons are listed in our monthly newsletter that's available on our website, www.unityoflawrence.org. If you have feedback about our services, need more information, want to sign up for our weekly e-news, or have a request, please contact our wonderful Kathy at 785-841-1447 or at info@unityoflawrence.org. Join us next week as Robin Goff, licensed Unity teacher, brings us the message From Privilege to Partnership. Special music will be with Cecilia St. King. Let us bless our youth and each other. Rub your hands together and say with me, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the divinity in you. Now let's sing the original peace song with Steve Epley.
Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, children all are we. Let us walk with each other, perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my solemn vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me.
Now our prayer of protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. We invite our speaker and others to stay online for a few minutes to visit via Zoom.